Just before we start the video, I just thought I'd show you some footage of a little wallaby with her baby. She's called a doe and the baby's called a joey. Just thought you might be interested in that. Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Well, today on the channel I'm going to make a couple of little carving knives. This one here ends up being about 6 inches long in total length, so it's a fairly large one. The blade length would be about 1.5 inches or 40 millimeters long, roughly. And I'm not going to just do one, I'm going to attempt to do two. So this one here is considerably shorter. It's going to be about 5 inches in length total all up, but the blade length is about 1.25 inches compared to the other one. So I'm going to use something that I've been wanting to use for a while, and that's mower blade. I'm going to use a bit of ride-on mower blade for the larger one, and just a standard lawnmower mower blade for the smaller one. They're just second-hand old blades that still have plenty of meat on them to do this job. I've always been wanting to try this. The steel is very hard steel. So come along with me today and I'll show you how I did it. So the first thing I'm going to do is darken up this a bit. I'll darken it up fairly wide just with a black marker pen. And I'll just mark it out so I can then trace onto it what I want as a blade shape. And I can scribe it on easily. I tried scribing it on, but the mower blade was so hard I couldn't even see the mark, so I decided to use engineer's chalk. Alright, I've changed over to a bit of engineer's chalk. That way I can see what I'm doing. There's the scribe mark, I can't actually see it. It's that hard, this steel, it won't scribe easily. There we go. Now I'm going to leave this part here parallel for the time being. The reason I'm going to do that is when I set up a jig to grind the bevel, that'll be a lot easier to run along the bottom edge of the jig for grinding it. So I'll leave that as is. So I'll cut that piece out. I'll mark out the next one now. So on this one, I might just clean that up a bit first. So I won't use a pen there to mark that. See how it comes up without the pen? Actually comes up quite good without the pen. So I have to go diagonal a bit to get the length here. So I'll make this end here the blade end. So I went through and marked out the other blade in a similar fashion. Of course, it will be something like that. And this other one will be something like, I'll show you. Pointed there and beveled off to a corner there. So roughly like that. This end will be a bit more beveled like that. Alright, okay, I'll cut them out now. The biggest trick that I've got to do is try to keep them cool enough. I was going to cut them with little cutting discs. That's going to be hard to keep it cool at the same time, so I'm going to have to set up a little squirty bottle just to keep it cool as I go along. Alright, let's get into it. I went through and cut both blades out. I took my time and care to keep on my mark, but I also made sure I kept it cool. I stopped and wet it down with a little squirty bottle I had, and it actually kept it quite cool. I'll just fast forward to the end and you'll see the result what I got by the time I'd finished. Okay, so we've ground our blanks. That's one blank there. This is another one here. So what we're going to attempt to do, I've made up, some of you have watched my videos before have seen that this is the grinder that I use for sharpening my planer or thickness and jointer knives. There's a video on that there. Now I have another jig that goes through here to hold them knives. So because it's a good whetstone, I have this set up now with this little bit of angle here, and I've set it up at roughly 12.5 degrees. So the angle of the blade will end up 25 degrees. So we'll just see how we go with it. I've never done this down this fine before. I'm just going to move it in slowly, take little passes like this. So we'll see how that goes as we do it now. Okay, so I've set up a little fence, that little bit of aluminium on the table there. It's so I can do a minor cut. And if you can see it, I'm slowly moving it in. It's taking probably a few thou grind off that far side. I now flip it around, bring it from this side and grind in from this side. And I hold it up nice and tight against that little bit of angle line. It's not ideal for what we're doing. It's very hard to feed it in. There's not enough table on this side. As you can see, it's taken a little bit of a grind off either edge there. And because the blade's a bit worn on that end, that old mower blade's a bit worn on the end, it's not exactly equal, but it does get better towards the end. So I'll just fast forward through this, and before I go though, I'll just explain something. Every time I stop it, I actually push the blade tight up against the stone. So I take off I've got some vice grips holding that little bit of angle line there. So what I do now is I push the blade nice and tight up against the stone. You see what I'm doing there now? That, I lock it down. So theoretically I'm just taking a few thou cut every time. And I repeat this time and time again until it actually comes to a sharp edge. So I take a cut off either side until it comes to a sharp edge. So you can see it's coming to a nice bevel and coming to a nice edge. Here I am partially through the second one. I thought I'd spare you the agony of watching me do the grinding of the second one. Very slow process, but needless to say, worth it. Keeps it nice and cool, this grinder. If I was to do more of these carving knives, I'd definitely set up a better fence setup and a better angle guide. So here we have it. This is fairly sharp already, believe it or not. So I'll now go and give these a bit of a hit with some wet and dry sandpaper, I think, first, just to clean this tang up. Probably handle them before I do the final sharpen. So that's the two of them done before I grind this profile too. Probably could use them. Alright. I've decided to just use these diamond lapstones instead of wet and dry sandpaper. I just want to clean up the edges a bit. So once I've got these acceptable for what I'm doing, cleaning up the edges, I'll go on and make the handles. I actually had to be quite careful here that I didn't slip because they're quite sharp as they are, and I reckon it'd give you a bit of a nasty cut if you accidentally slipped and got the edge. So here I am starting the handles. This is actually Northern Silky Oak. For those that watched the last video that I did on the lidded box, it was Southern Silky Oak. This actually comes up darker when you finish it than the Southern. So I'm just doing the small handle out of this one now. Then I'll go on to do the bigger handle out of some burdock and plum. I actually turn this cylinder nice and true now. I actually hold it in a chuck in a minute, or at the end of doing the two handles I do, and then I bore the centre up the handle to hold the tang. That's how I bore it nice and neat. And I also cut the handle off while it's in the chuck too. Now it's on to the next one. I make this one out of burdock and plum. It's a harder timber. I used some of this the other day on a job too, and I'm actually going to make it so it's got two flat sides, so it's a little bit out of round, but I want to make this one so I can hold it a bit. This is for the larger knife, so I'll mark it out now and turn it up too. Now I'll go through and I'll bore the holes in both the ends. I'm actually holding the other end of the handle in a chuck. You can't see it, it's just out of the frame. I thought I had it in the frame, but I didn't. So I bore these out now. This is the big one. I bore it out to suit its tang. And then I bore the small one out to suit its tang too. I actually don't show it, but I will go on to glue the blades into the handles with 2-pack glue. Here I'm actually starting to fit the blades or the tang into the handles. I'm using a little 1/8 diameter rasp, like a little rat's tail rasp, and it actually works quite good to fit the blade in, or should I say help fit the blade in. So I fiddle around for a bit and I end up fitting both blades. We'll just fast forward through this section. If you were to make these, you'd have to fit the blades to file the handles or broach out the handles to suit your tang of your blade, like I'm doing here. And here we have one fitted. It's not glued yet, but it's fitted. And then I go on to do the next one. And once I've done the next one, it's a matter of grinding the blades profile the shape I desire. Here you can see me now grinding the back of the large blade. I'm grinding it down on this whetstone again. Like I said, this works brilliant, keeps the blade nice and cool, so there's no fear of losing your hardness at all. Now it's onto the little blade. I'm curving the back on this one. It's going to be a finer blade. So just take my time grinding it back. And I actually curve it to a nice gentle curve. And it comes up quite well too. If you're wondering what the grey tape is, it's to stop water from getting up under the handle between the blade and the inside hole. In this footage you see me refining the edge. I'm using a very, very fine diamond card here to just get to a fine edge. I go on to use a very fine stone after this, and they actually come up very, very well and very, very sharp. I do go on to polish them on a buff after this. If I'd used brand new mower blades instead of second-hand ones, I would have probably got a very, very shiny finish on them. But buffing of carving knives, I find, does wonders. So here's the end result. They certainly look neat. Like I said, if I'd used brand new mower blades, the blades would have come up much, much more shinier. Right, thanks for joining me as I made these two carving knives today. I've been wanting to, for some time, to try out mower blade to see what it would be like on carving knives. I would think it'd be okay. It's fairly hard steel. So I'm going to give them a try out in the next week or so. I've got a couple of little things I'd like to do. and may even post some of that content of some carving there. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Appreciate those new subscribers and those old subscribers too. It's been really an encouragement to me, all you guys subscribing to me. It really has. It's been pretty hard going trying to figure out how to do stuff and how to post it online and do all that. So I really, really appreciate you guys subscribing. Appreciate all my viewers. Really, really do. Look, if you like the content, please share me with your friends. That would be appreciated too. And I'll catch you on the next one.